So one of the things that it's always those slow, small steps of what you can do. So if you can open the windows of your house for a bit, so you're hearing the road, but it's, you know, as you say, not a busy road, but you're hearing the sounds that are happening outside before you go outside. Um, it can be that you just try and get yourself used to certain road sounds, maybe have record, you know, I'm sure there's definite recordings of road sounds and you can play those. Um, a lot of the time we suggest with people is just to take those smaller steps. So give yourself a bit of a plan of, I'm going to sit in the garden if you've, you know, got a garden, or I'm going to sit outside and I'm going to give myself 5 minutes out there and then I'm going to come back in. Or if it's going okay, I'm going to stay out there a bit longer. Um, or I'm going to try and walk to my neighbour's house and back and be out on the road, and then I'll try a little bit further. It's all about just small steps to just try and go that little bit further and a little bit further, because you will slowly get used to the sound a little bit more and more. Um, and if it's specific sounds that are really, you feel like are the worst ones, build up to those. Don't, you know, unfortunately, if road sounds were the worst ones, then you'd have to kind of build up to those in your house and things. But yeah, like try and build up to everything that you're doing. Um, this is probably one of the main kind of treatments that we'd use for hyperacusis, is just slowly kind of trying to desensitize, but using natural sounds, using your environment that's around you, and just having things in your toolkit if it doesn't work out. So carry it, you know, carry your headphones with you, have them there ready, and if you're finding it's too much, put them on, wear them for a bit, and then go from there again and try and take them off and wear them again. Or if you're in a louder environment and you just can't cope, walk away, find yourself a safe place that you feel that you can calm down, keep calm, and not get overly anxious about the sounds that you're hearing. And just, so we've done lots of stuff with people where they're saying that actually just picking out where to stand in a room or where to stand on the road is one of their key things. So don't stand too close to the edge of the road and nearer to your kind of houses as you walk along. But just carrying something along that will make you feel safe if you need to.
That's wonderful advice. It's wonderful advice. I mean, it's the reason that I made the sound therapy, Kathryn, and why I went really extensively into different environments, Kathryn. It's so strange because it's exactly really prevalent for what's happening now. That's why I wanted to create an industrial series amongst all the others, because it was really for very selfish reasons to start with, to help me, which was the fact that for me, plane travel was, I couldn't do it. I didn't travel on a plane for about 10 years because sound was just too frightening. It wasn't just the plane. It was the boat that I had to go on. It was the taxi that was vibrating and creating more tinnitus. Then the boat, which was vibrating and creating more tinnitus and oversensitivity. Then I went on a train, and then I went on another train. Then I went on a tube, and then I'm about ready to fly, you know, and the whole thing was an absolute nightmare. So it was designed deliberately to desensitize and to get people used to that environment. And I, again, it's like it worked for myself, and that's one of the reasons why I got over my hyperacusis, Kathryn, was to create, for example, the idea of standing in a road, even when I had hyperacusis, was unacceptable to my hearing system. I couldn't handle it. So I would walk at 3 o'clock at night and start my day back to front. So I lived a nocturnal lifestyle for about 3 to 4 months, I remember. It was the only way that I could kind of cope with that sound. So I started then to ponder that when I was making the sound therapy. So I would go out then, once I was slightly better and I felt a little bit more in control with my own auditory system, I would record the sound up front of motorbikes and cars. And in a sound environment, by creating that sound in my studio and going back and exploring those sounds, I was able to position them in a way that was really comfortable for me. So what then used to happen is I would go out and hear those sounds, but in a sense, it was like I was brainwashing myself. I was making that sound that I was hearing comfortably in my own environment.
Yeah.
it was transporting itself outside. So that tolerance that I had in the studio and safety that I felt translated in any other environment. And that's what really helped me, Kathryn, because I knew that would be the only way I could deal with it.
Yeah.
Flying now is wonderful. I love it. I'm excited. It's a shame I can't travel because it's one of the best things that I could ever do, is to travel to a beautiful country and to love those sounds. So I love the sound of planes. I love the sound of airports now. I love trains. I like the vibration. It's like once I'd worked out that the sounds weren't going to hurt me, and I was able to desensitize with sound therapy and great clinical information, it was a whole different environment. Suddenly I could go out there again and bask in it and really enjoy it. I do make myself listen to ambulances, which you might think might be a bit crazy, but I won't do that. And it might mean that the tinnitus is a bit bad for a while, but again, I've had to make myself not cover my ears up, which means actually I don't now. My reaction is to do that, which means that I will feel effect, but I have to do that, Kathryn, because I do not want to go back to doing that again. I just don't ever want to go back to that world, because I know that sound of an ambulance, as long as it's not directly in my ear, as long as it's not for half an hour and it's right next to me, I know that if it's just going by, I know that it's good to engage in it and let it just happen, I think. What would you say? Would you, that a little bit dramatic, or would you recommend just
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at anyone on the street as an ambulance went past, even when they go past and you're driving in your car, your reactions are to kind of cover your ears, or at least tense up. I think I'd say a lot of people do. I think some of it is there's a control there, and as you said, like getting something used to in an environment where you're really comfortable is one of the best things to do, because you're not anxious, you're at home, you're comfortable, you're sitting there, and you're just getting used to those sounds. Ambulances are probably a sound that you don't necessarily need to get used to, I will say. Most people don't like them. They're loud for a reason. They've got to be heard over car radios and everything else that the world creates. But it's those moments where if you can get used to all of the other sounds in our environments, in an environment where you're happy, which is what you've done there, it does mean that when you're outside in that environment, you remember feeling comfortable in your house with those noises. So it does help that interaction. Things like aeroplanes, cars, they're the ones that we're reported more often to be a problem with hyperacusis, because you're in a tin can of a car. Your car is an acoustic ping pong ball, basically. So a lot of people will struggle in those environments, trains. And if that is where the struggle is, then that's where you do look after, if you're traveling for a long time on a train, wear ear protection if that's going to help you in that moment. And it won't, as long as you're not wearing this ear protection all day long, every moment you can, wear it where it feels sensible to you. You wouldn't walk into a concert necessarily that's really loud without looking after your ears. The underground is horrendously loud. I generally always have headphones of some sort when I go onto the underground, because it is loud. So it's those kind of recognition of where is good to wear it, where you feel comfortable. But cars, planes, enclosed spaces like that, which is unfortunately why with children a lot hand dryers come up, because if you think about a bathroom setting and then the height of the child, then that's why hand dryers are much louder to children than they are to adults, because we're that bit above the noise. But